Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the first episode of Manny Ball here on Manny Insights. Good start, fresh start. I mean, what a better way to start a program than the day before the World Series between the two powerhouses, Yankees, Dodgers, coast to coast. Gonna be electric. Tickets are just through the roof. I mean, I keep joking around that I'm gonna go to the games. I'm asking my teacher to go to the games. He's saying no. But nah, a lot of fun, especially being here from Jersey. Let's just get right into it. I mean, the Dodgers, they won their series in 6 games against the Mets. Bullpen held it down. I mean, they scored 10 runs in that final game. And then the Yankees, 1-5. Juan Soto, pay the man. They won their game 5-2. Probably the closer series. The Dodgers series, in my opinion, was pretty boring, considering that, yeah, it was a 6 game series. One could say that's kind of close, but every single game was a blowout, whether the Mets or the Dodgers won. And then the Yankees, I mean, a lot of dramatics, especially in Game 3. That was one of the best baseball games I've seen in a while. Game 4 was also a treat to watch. And then Game 5, extra innings, really great stuff in that ALCS. But we will not see any Central teams in the World Series. We won't see the Mets in the World Series. We won't see a Subway Series, unfortunately, for some people, although I really didn't mind either which way. I still think it's going to be awesome. And let's just preview the series. Right now, the Dodgers, I think the line's at minus 125 in their favor. They are favored in this series, and rightfully so. I mean, the Dodgers are the deeper team. A lot of people are saying that this is a close series. The teams are really evenly matched, and although I am rooting for the Yankees in this series, I'm from Jersey, I think that is a false narrative. I think the media is hyping it up just a little bit too much, how close these teams are, and it hurts a little bit to say, but if we look at this series and if we look at the way the Yankees have been playing, one, the defense in that Cleveland series, I mean, I know a lot of it was just Anthony Rizzo, but Volpe also has had a few errors during the playoffs. It's just been abysmal. They can't beat the Dodgers that way, and I also have seen how deep this Dodger lineup is. And not only the lineup, but the bullpen. The Dodgers have suffered so many injuries to their starting staff. I mean, Kershaw, Gavin Stone, Tony Gonsolin, Tyler Glasnow, Dustin May. Just those 5 is a really good rotation, and they don't have any of those guys. So Walker Buehler had an awesome game 4. Yeah, game 4. He was just tremendous. It was either game 4 or game 3. After having a pretty rough start in San Diego. Also, the Dodger bullpen has been great. I mean, just to give in on how good this Dodger bullpen has been, they didn't allow a run in a traditional game. So a game where a starting pitcher throws, not a bullpen game. They also obviously also had a shutout in a bullpen game. But they didn't. This Dodger bullpen did not allow a run in a traditional baseball game from game 2 of the NLDS all the way to game 5 of the NLCS, which is just insane. I know there were 2 bullpen games in between, but one of those games was a shutout that the bullpen threw, which I just aforementioned. And then the other one of those games, they lost game 2. They were horrible, but a lot of those runs came in against Landon Knack, who is not going to throw any critical innings for the Dodgers. We know Blake Trinan, he's nasty. Evan Phillips, those are more of the 2 guys that you're going to see in crunch time, in the clutch for the Dodgers. And the Dodger bullpen overall has just been absolute money. And again, so has kind of the Yankee bullpen. But I truly think they're not as deep, and we saw that against Cleveland. Luke Weaver and Clay Holmes had only allowed 1 run in between the both of them from the ALDS all the way up to Game 3 of the ALCS, which is just insane. And I was actually on a podcast on Swing Completo, and we were talking about that while the game was going on. And then Luke Weaver gets popped, Clay Holmes gets popped, and the Guardians walked it off. But I'm just going to go right into Yankees' keys to the series, because I truly think this is what has to go right for the Yankees, and we'll just segue right into this topic, which has to do with the bullpen and how perhaps maybe, I don't want to say use the word overused, because obviously now they're rested going into the World Series, but Cleveland did get a lot of looks from Holmes and Weaver, and then Jay Cousins. Mark Leiter threw some critical innings, and Tim Hill, who has just been phenomenal for the Yankees as well. But the Yankees have one clear advantage, in my opinion, and that is starting pitching. I just mentioned all of the injuries that the Dodgers have suffered in their starting staff. The starting pitching for the Yankees just has to be better. Nestor's back. I don't think he's going to start games, but he'll be a pretty critical piece in the pen, especially a swing guy, which I think they're going to need because in the two games, the Schmidt and the Luis Hill games, so Game 3 and Game 4, the Yankee bullpen allowed 8 runs. Other than that, Game 1, Game 2, Game 5, where they had Cole, Rodon, which are obviously the two aces on the staff, the Yankee bullpen was great. Those guys provide some length. I know Cole wasn't great in Game 2, but then again, it was early in the series. Cleveland, I don't want to use the word nervous, but they did look pretty nervous and overwhelmed being in New York. And it was the first looks they got at the Yankee pen, so the Yankee pen one was obviously fresher, and Cleveland didn't have enough time to make those adjustments. They're obviously a weaker team. They're a weaker lineup. And when it comes to this Yankee lineup, they got guys in the bottom like Kike Hernandez, who just casually has 15 home runs in the postseason in his career, which is the same amount or I think one less than Aaron Judge and Stanton. Either way, I mean, a guy like Tommy Edman, who's probably, the 10th name you mentioned on this Dodger roster when you name their top players before this postseason, yeah, he's just going to hit cleanup in Game 6 of the NLCS, win NLCS MVP, and drive 11 runs. Like, that is just nuts. That's what the Dodgers offer, which the Yankees just haven't. So I'll get into that in the final few points. But, yeah, this Yankee rotation has to put them over the top. So whether they're going to get more innings, I mean, that's technically considered the bullpen, but from the swing guys, which I think is going to be necessary, take the load off of this bullpen, which wasn't that great in the regular season. Then again, that doesn't mean much because we've seen bullpens like the Nationals in 2019, the Braves in 2021, that maybe weren't the most elite in the regular season. They just get hot in the postseason, though, and then there's no looking back. The Yankees have done something similar to that. But, yes, starting pitching, key number one. You have an advantage on paper. You have to win that battle against the Dodgers. That's the number one key, in my opinion. Then let's go to the second one. I mean, this is, if you listen to The Fan, if you listen to any baseball or New York media, you've probably heard a lot of criticism to Aaron Judge, which it's a little warranted. And in the ALDS, he was just horrible. I mean, he was honestly just even, I don't want to say automatic out. He obviously had that double in Game 4, but he was killing innings in that 3 spot. There's no doubt about it. And he had a big home run against Class A, which was huge in the CS, even though they lost that game. But still, 3 for 18 and slugging. He did slug at a 500 clip, which is obviously good. But 3 for 18 from your guy with a 261 on base percentage is just not going to cut it. The reason I say that is because, yes, the Yankee lineup didn't suffer as much, considering that Giancarlo Stanton, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, was Barry Bonds. I can't hold, as a Yankee fan or anyone, if I'm Aaron Boone, I can't just expect Giancarlo Stanton to hit 4 home runs in 5 games consistently. I don't care how good he hits in Dodger Stadium, and by the way, it could happen, but that's not something you could bank on if you're the Yankees. You need Stanton to still be a dude, maybe take a little step back because it's normal. He's a human being, but Judge has to be Aaron Judge for you to beat this Goliath that I view the Dodgers as. So that's very key. Then let's go to the last point. Either Jazz Chisholm or Austin Wells has to step up. Austin Wells hit 0.59 in the ALCS, and he's been hitting cleanup for most of this postseason. They move him down. He actually pops a homer, which good for him. Maybe that's a good sign. That was late in the series. But Jazz then moves up to the 4 spot. He hit 133. I know Rizzo showed some good at-bats during the series, but he's kind of hobbled right now, and I don't know if he could be that cleanup hitter at this point in his career on a World Series winning team. He can. I mean, for 7-game stretch, he definitely can. But I'm trying to be realistic here. Jazz Chisholm, Austin Wells, they are one of those guys is going to be in the middle of this Yankee lineup, and they got to get it done. Or else, I mean, this Yankee team and this Yankee lineup, just the way they've been playing has not been deep enough to go against such a patient Dodger lineup and so many guys that can beat you, even off the bench. I mean, Chris Taylor is still getting big hits for them. It's just insane. Also, Kevin Kiermaier, who has some playoff experience. And I haven't even mentioned Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, who's supposedly healthy, although even when he was playing, he wasn't slugging much. So I don't know how much of a concern or of a factor that he will be in the series. I still think it's important. So, Yankees, I mean, I think it's simple. Aaron Judge be Aaron Judge. Starting pitching, do what you've been doing all year, which they've actually been great. And then Wells or Jazz. Not both of them, just one of them. Just step up, get a few big hits, because we've seen Doogie get a few big hits. Anthony Volpe get a few big hits. I don't think that the Yankees want them to be more, I don't want to say important, but more of a threat at the plate than a Jazz or a Wells, who are going to be more towards the middle of their lineup. So, off of that, I mean, Game 1 is tomorrow, 8:08. Every single start time is 8:08, so they'll do Friday, Saturday in L.A., Sunday off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in New York, Thursday off, and then hopefully we get a 7-game series. That would be awesome. So that would be, I think, Friday, Saturday of next week. That's when the series would end, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go towards another topic. I mentioned earlier that Giancarlo Stanton was going to be a topic of conversation in this podcast, and let's just go into his resume. Giancarlo Stanton just added something to his already loaded awards resume. I guess it's the awards section of his resume. ALCS MVP. He was phenomenal. I mentioned it earlier. He hit 4 home runs in the series and an 889 slugging with a 1.222 OPS. 4 for 18, but every single hit that he had was a homer. It was huge, 7 RBIs, and he's just been clutch. So I want to kind of look a little bit ahead when it comes to Giancarlo Stanton and into his career, which he's building a pretty impressive resume, which might lead him to Cooperstown. I know people have kind of flirted with that lately in the media. I think there's a great comparison, and this is a narrative that we can build upon, especially in the offseason when we have nothing to talk about. And Stanton, if he wins World Series MVP or if he wins just a World Series, that'll be another thing he adds to his case. Right now, Giancarlo Stanton, just give you his career numbers, 44.6 career WAR, 429 career homers, a 871 lifetime OPS, and a 136 lifetime OPS plus. That's really good. He also has an MVP, 5-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, Home Run Derby champ. I don't think that counts for much, but either way, I guess you could add it. And he was a great performer in that contest. ALCS MVP, and is also an All-Star Game MVP. His postseason career numbers, he hits 269 with a 677 slugging and a 1.19 OPS. That is great. In 36 games, he has 35 hits in 36 games and has more home runs in his first 35 postseason games than Babe Ruth had. So he is the man in the postseason. He has the ALCS MVP to back it up, and we'll see what he does in this World Series. I want to compare him to someone who just recently made the Hall of Fame, Fred McGriff. If we could pull up that graphic. Let's look at their numbers. Obviously, McGriff, who played more years, is going to beat him in the totals when it comes to WAR. He beats him, but only by 8. And then he obviously has more plate appearance, hits. Stanton's probably not going to get to 2,000 hits. He still has until the end of 2027 left on his deal, so he's going to play through 2027. Then there's a club option in 2028 for about $15 million. I don't know if the Yankees are going to pick that up. Maybe at that time, $15 million is $15 million. It might be, it's 15 or 20 million. But his contract is not that backloaded. I don't know if he restructured it, but the Marlins gave him that huge extension in 2014. It was like $314 million. He was the first $300 million man. But it's not as expensive as it used to be, not as demanding towards the payroll. Home runs are close, 429 to 493. So Stanton doesn't technically have to get to 500, but everyone who has made the 500 homer club or is past it without it being in a steroid case or, I mean, any sort of drama along those lines, has made the Hall of Fame. Stanton has been clean. He also has 1,100 RBIs, and in the amount of years left, I think he could get to maybe 1,400, approach 1,500. Batting average, he's probably not gonna get to, but he outslugs him, and he has a better OPS plus than Fred McGriff. Then if we look down, Stanton could have one championship by the end of this. All-Stars are the same. Fred McGriff never won an MVP, and one less Silver Slugger. Stanton, by the end of his career, I think is going to approach very similar numbers than McGriff. They were both sluggers, not well known for their defense at all. In fact, Stanton actually in Miami was a decent defender, and his WAR per 162 is 4.4. He's probably not going to have another 4-WAR season, but he could have another 3-WAR season like he had in, I think it was 2021. Have it right here. Yeah, 2021, where he played 130 games. I know Stanton playing 130 games is never a guarantee, but if he does get to there, with the way he's been hitting, we see the ability that he has. It is not a stretch that Stanton could have another 3-WAR season. In fact, if he accumulates 6 more WAR, 2, 2, and 2, in the 3 years he has left on his deal, he gets to 50. And I think that is, usually the threshold that you get over that almost guarantees you a spot is 60, unless you were like Vizquel or a Tiant that I think has 60, which, I think Tiant should be in, but whatever, that's another topic of conversation. But I guess they didn't view him as the elite of the elites in his era. Stanton is one of the best sluggers of his era. That is without a doubt. 59 home run season. When you think of sluggers between, 2013 or 2014 to 2024, you'll probably mention Joey Votto. Jose Bautista was short-lived, so he didn't play those 10 years. Maybe a Joey Votto. Stanton has to be there. You'll think of Aaron Judge. Pujols was already out of his prime. He might be, in that 10-year stretch, the most elite power hitter in the game. He's been more productive now in the last 2 years. Well, perhaps just because of the postseason this year, he's had such an impact that he's had better years than Paul Goldschmidt has had. And these are all guys that are the best of the best in their era and are perhaps fringe Hall of Famers. I think with a ring, the fact that he played in New York, that he's going to get close to and maybe pass some of these Fred McGriff stats, and he also played Fred McGriff in an era where it was a more hitter-friendly era. There's no doubt about it. Right now we're seeing the stats that compared to the dead ball era in the 60s. Pitching is just at an all-time level right now, and Stanton is still doing it. At his age, he's not fielding, but he can still be any pitcher on any given day. I think that this comparison is what he should present by the end of his career to get into the Hall of Fame. And all the Stanton fans that are rooting for him to get into, I loved watching him play in Miami, and it's so awesome to see what he's doing now in New York. We'll just end on that note. A lot of stuff going on in this week in sports. NBA just started. We obviously have this World Series, NFL, college football this weekend. It's going to be a blast. So stay tuned. We'll do some more content across sports. Keep it short for now, just some baseball, and then we will be back Monday to talk about the first 2 games of this series. I can't wait. Everyone have a wonderful day and enjoy this weekend of sports. Peace out.